Well, let me just ask about the Colombia-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. Is that something that's being proposed? Or?
It seems to me that that reminds me of a factor that is happening here. The U.S. empire is in decline.
Absolutely.
Right? It's getting weaker and weaker. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And, there's certainly, still 50,000 troops in Iraq. But, what they had planned there is not what is, has come to fruition. And in Afghanistan, U.S. soldier has been killed every day, and how many Afghan civilians and Afghan people are killed every day that we don't hear about. But that war and the strategy there is failing. They move into one area heavy, the resistance moves to another and grows stronger. Then they move there, they move again. And they're just back on their heels. Likewise in Latin America, with Venezuela and Cuba united, Bolivia working with them, Ecuador. The U.S. is being pushed out of the region. Different methods, different means, but they're being pushed out. And then you have this large revolutionary group and movement in Colombia. And the U.S. has made that their ground zero, so to speak, where they kill peasants every day, kill trade unionists every week, women's organizations leaders found dead, disappeared and murdered. They found a pit next to La Macarena military base, the Colombian military base this summer, a pit with 2,000 bodies of people who had been kidnapped, tortured, and murdered, and dumped like human garbage the way the Nazis used to do. Dumped them in a pit. 2,000 bodies. This is what the United States is paying for.
That's right.
Their war is not succeeding in that country.
No.
If they're doing that, they're losing that war. And I think that's why the attack's coming.
Quickly, I want to thank you, first of all, really appreciate you. As far as George's question, I think the reason is that the capitalist economic system is dying out, is being squelched. And this is what they have to do to, the depression will grow. I mean, because of, the system is dying. I had something else I wanted to say, but I'm going to.
I just have 3 points. One is welcome Brother Tom, and we commend all the resistance against the attacks by the FBI. Three points. One is also I wanted to let you and everybody else know that I happened to be from Wisconsin, and I was going to a family event on Friday, and I got information about a Milwaukee, Wisconsin protest at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. And it was wonderful. Students from SDS Milwaukee and Columbia Action Network and the AFT local at UW Milwaukee and the AFSCME local at UW Milwaukee, the vice president and president of those and others came out in vigorous denunciation of the FBI raids and in total solidarity with those who were raided. And it was a wonderful demo. There was maybe 25 to 30 people there, but politically it was extremely important. And that's kind of one of my points is if you can raise like the response in Minneapolis with the press conference is almost instantaneous, as well as the press conference in Chicago. And if you can address, the first point is one, the importance of going on the offensive and how important that is and how you deal with that. The other one is the response to the FBI visits and calls in terms of the way that I think it's an exemplary blueprint for the movement on how those who were attacked and visited and raided responded to the FBI essentially with two words. We're not talking to you, two sentences. Right. We're not talking to you, call my attorney and that's it. And if you can just address how important that is to actual generals that are attacked, how to respond to the FBI.
Well, you said it. Just say no.
No.
And oh. You have to answer your name and confirm who you are. I don't know any other questions. Maybe you have to answer where you live too. I'm not sure. But any other questions, you just say, I don't care to talk to you, no thanks, whatever you would like. If you're a person who can't say that, you should get your lawyer's card, or at least get your lawyer's name and phone number and say, here's my lawyer's card and information, because then they have to go through them, and it's a very rare instance where they will. In Minneapolis, they immediately started doing press work. And, before I got handed my subpoena, it's kind of funny, my wife and our daughter were getting ready to go bring her to school, and our friend called and said, they're raiding my house. And I said, we better get going, because they might be on their way here in Michigan. And then I took a few minutes because I was like, well, I better write a press release, You gotta work, right away. You gotta respond to the attack right away. And then I thought, well, I'll take my computer and go find a cafe, a web cafe or whatever they're called. And I don't know the town so well yet, so I started driving. And then I saw that I had made 2 left turns, not really knowing where I was going, and someone else had 2. And so I drove around for 2 more miles with somebody following me. And I thought, So I went to my wife's work, and that's where they gave us the subpoenas. But the point is, my first thought was, well, let's respond to this. And I want to encourage people that that's what you do too. And part of that's because older veteran activists were kind enough to train me in that and say, it's going to happen eventually, and it took a long time, but it was real useful when it happened. So you got to be ready to respond. And in Minneapolis, they held a rally the very first night, and 200 people came to a church to support them and hear about what happened. Chicago, likewise, they were really gone over a bit heavier, I think. So it took another day to organize, but when they did a press conference, it was very effective with the media. And so far, we've had a good message put out, and I think that's helped to encourage people to come out and support us instead of being intimidated.
Right.
There's that relationship between leadership and motivating people to do things and get out there and become leaders themselves. And I think so far so good. Tuesday night will be another step towards organizing that.